Hey Brogan, did you know that there are three things that I particularly like?
Really?
Spaceships, jazz, and women with attitudes.
Oh,
So tell me, Brogan, why don't we get all three of them neatly gathered on our podcast?
I can't think of any reason why not. Why are you yelling at me, dickhead?
There's no such thing as a good podcast that didn't start with somebody yelling. Um,
I'm desperately trying to think of something to contradict you there, but I can't. Every good podcast starts with screaming, so I guess those are just the rules.
yeah. All right.
Anyway, hi,
Yeah.
I'm Brogan.
And I'm Josh, and
And
this is How-to Otaku, the show where we search the cosmos for the most valuable animes to capture in exchange for a not so great bounty hunting analogy.
And this finally is our series on Cowboy Bebop, a show that is truly, as the opening scroll says, a genre unto itself.
So, in case you missed our recent update episode, here's the deal. We I guess we just gotta say it. We went on a hiatus because we were super busy with other important things.
Right.
And
Work
unfortunately,
and school and moving and
yeah, and I don't want to say this to be mean to any of you because we do think that you guys, our listeners, are super important, but on another level, it's also just a little passion project for us that we don't always get the luxury of working on all the time. So you
right.
know, but we're back. We're going to get 2022 running up to speed. So you know that's all great. I guess other updates is that we've both moved since our last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, you have. I haven't.
You haven't?
No, the last time I moved was summer. No way. Has it been since so other than no way, Josh.
Yeah.
Am I Are you right?
I think I might be right because I moved in August, which was technically the summer. So it's been that long since we've released
Was the
an episode.
only episode that we've recorded since summer been Akira, and we recorded that in November and it just came out.
Yeah, I think so.
Fuck. I guess we did just move. I guess we did move. God damn.
Yeah. So if the acoustics are different in the rooms, that's why I guess. But yeah, a lot of
Hopefully
shit's
a little
happened.
better.
A lot of shit's happened. But yeah, it's good to be back up at speed. It's good to see your lovely face on my computer screen.
Speak for yourself.
Fuck, man. Okay.
I love you, Josh. I'm drinking and I'm feeling sassy.
What are you drinking?
Whiskey?
Just straight whiskey?
Irish whiskey, yeah. With ice.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I have a Dr. Pepper as well, but they're not in the same cup.
You should put those two together.
Well, the Dr. Pepper is gone now. I just have whiskey left. So.
Oh, that's so sad.
Alexa, play Despacito.
Feel really bad for anybody who is listening to this on their Alexa speaker. If that happens. I don't know if people listen to podcasts on their smart speakers or whatever.
Want to see something really funny?
What?
Hey Siri, what is the scientific name for a pig? Everybody at home who's listening to this on a speaker is going to think that's really funny.
Okay, but
what have you been up to, Josh? I see it here on the docket, so I'm going to segue smoothly into it. What have you been doing, Josh?
Well, just recently I picked up the Ace Attorney trilogy on the Switch. So You ever played those games,
Of
or are you just like
course
familiar with
I've
them?
played those games. Of course I've played those games.
Yeah, maybe with all my free time, I'll like start Twitch streaming them. That might be fun.
Ooh.
Although
Oh my
hopefully nobody will
gosh.
get in
Being a
there and just like
content
spoil shit for
creator.
me. Because
Content
like
creator.
even though those games are like so fucking stupid and like sometimes they're really predictable, like there are other times where like shit just like comes out of nowhere and you're like, holy fuck, why didn't I think of that? Like that makes so much
Yeah, by the
sense.
time you find the solution, sometimes it's just like, oh fuck.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of what's really fun about the game. Like it's just, like all the like first of all, I love that it doesn't take itself seriously at all, really. Like, everybody's got a goofy name, and even though like every trial is about a murder, like, it doesn't really feel like, it's never like super depressing or anything. You're just like, oh, this is like fun, goofy nonsense. And I can not
Yeah,
take it too seriously.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. I I dropped off the My Hero bandwagon, I guess. Like I just stopped
So
watching it.
what is your I guess final um
Verdict.
yeah, your final verdict.
I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. Like, it's adequate entertainment.
Okay.
I don't really have much else to say about that. What have you been up to?
Shit, man. I wish I had something better to say. I modded my Game Boy.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
well, I modded it
That's
a while ago, and I finally got a flash cart for it. So
mhm.
I've been playing some Game Boy games. I haven't really made any progress in anything.
Yeah.
So there's not much to report on that front. I played Dying Light on my Switch. Um,
How's that port?
it's actually it plays fairly well. There were only a couple instances where there were like severe frame drops.
Mhm.
Most of the time it's pretty steady at 30.
Yeah.
Um, and of course it like there's like pop in and like lower texture quality than other platforms, but
Mhm.
like it still plays fairly well.
Yeah. I'm always surprised like how well certain games run on it. Like,
Those miracle ports.
yeah, like I don't know. I guess there's probably like a couple studios out there who are like really well known for making Switch ports for games or whatever, and like doing them incredibly well.
Yeah, like the
You
Witcher
know,
port and shit like that.
yeah, like I don't know. It's always crazy to me, and I'm interested to see if a Switch Pro happens. I'm not sure if that's really going to happen, but that'd be cool.
I feel like that they wouldn't. I'm no like production analyst or anything like that, but
Hmm.
I feel like Nintendo realizes that what they have their hands on is like a unique and good enough thing
Hmm.
that even if the Switch Pro is not like a like it's even if it's not like called Switch Pro,
Yeah.
whatever the next console they make is, like I feel like what they might do is they might make a new console that is backwards compatible with Switch and also
Hmm.
more powerful, because I feel like we've missed the jumping point um, for them to do like a new Switch XL like they did with the 3DS, where they made a more powerful 3DS console
Hmm.
and released games that were exclusive to that. I feel like we've missed that. I don't think they would have done that in the first place. I
Yeah.
feel like their like flagship console, which is what this is,
Hmm.
wouldn't they wouldn't do like a tiered, there are certain games that you can only get on this version of this console. But I
Yeah.
do feel like whatever their next console is
Hmm.
will be backwards compatible.
Yeah, like I'm of the opinion that they'll probably try to do a Switch 2, like or like a
Yeah.
like cuz like it'll be less like the like having like a DSi to a DS or whatever, it won't be that jump. It'll be more like a jump to like the 3DS in terms of
Right.
comparison. Or like,
Which
there'll be the backwards compatibility, but the new one might have like different features and probably like better hardware, but
which
it'd be essentially the same thing.
hopefully they managed to change enough about it that it would be
Mm-hmm.
worth doing and calling like Switch 2 or whatever they end up calling it.
The
Cause
Super
like,
Switch.
yeah. Cause like, so, I mean, the 3DS, the 3D was a gimmick. It was a very fun gimmick. I enjoyed it a lot. But eventually I just stopped using it and then I just bought a 2DS and
Yeah.
sold my 3DS. Or a 2DS XL. But like with the Switch, if they make a new Switch, like what can they do? They can't really change the form factor because I'm assuming if they make another handheld docking console,
Mm-hmm.
they would try and keep it backwards compatible with all of the old
Switch
like
docks.
like the Joy-Cons and
Mm-hmm.
maybe not the Switch docks. I think the most likely possible thing is that the next thing that they make will just be a home console. They might return to home console and portable system and make like a Switch Lite Pro and
Mm-hmm.
like a home docked Switch.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're talking about this.
I mean, like it's Japanese video game entertainment adjacent to anime, sort of, kind of,
Okay. I mean, I'm
tenuously.
very interested in it. I
Yeah.
enjoy talking about it. Video games, music, and anime are like graphic design is my passion, right? But
Yeah. Speaking of which, have
yeah,
you played the new Pokemon games? No.
Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it.
You hate it.
I hated
So
Diamond and
fucking
Pearl.
flat, huh?
I hated it original. Like I hated the original version. It was
Oh.
boring. It was slow. All the new Pokemon are uninspired. Like I don't like it.
Okay. Well.
I think a lot of the people that we grew up with, a lot of the people our age really enjoyed those games because they were their
Mhm.
first Pokemon games.
Yeah.
I played Crystal. That was the first Pokemon game I played. And then I played Emerald. Both of those games are far superior to the fucking Diamond and Pearl. I never played Platinum, so I'll hold my tongue. But the new version doesn't have any of the Platinum content. It's just the exact same game, but it looks uglier. It's a little faster and it looks uglier. That's the only fucking difference. That being said, I'm very excited for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Because that looks like they're actually going to try and do something new with the same Pokemon formula. And I'm very excited for that. I'm holding my breath, but I am very excited. But yeah,
So you're
no, Diamond and Pearl were like the worst Pokemon games. I like Sword and Shield better than that.
the only one I've ever played is Shield. So
Black and White and Black and White 2 are the Gen 5 is the best Pokemon games. Gen 5 are the best Pokemon games ever made, hands down.
I have no opinions, but okay. I just kind of wanted to ask because it was adjacent, like,
And if you fucking disagree, leave a comment. Fight me, coward.
Oh, we can leave on Spotify. We can leave like Q&As and stuff where people can answer our questions. So
No, wait, what? Really?
So yeah, dear audience, what do you think is the best Pokemon game?
Dear Spotify audience, fuck everybody else. Fuck you, Apple Podcasts.
Sorry,
Like I
but
said, I'm drinking and I feel sassy.
yeah, but speaking of leaving feedback, if you want to leave us a review or whatever, go right ahead on Apple Podcasts. You can leave ratings on Spotify now. So, rate us 5 stars, 4 stars if we suck, like, thumbs down or whatever. But
Yeah, and if you want to give us any feedback or send hate comments my way and death threats because I don't like your stupid fucking Turtwig, Yeah, you can find me on Twitter.
Yeah, attack him on Twitter. Even if you like them, just attack him on Twitter.
Yeah, I like fighting. Fighting is fun. I'll fight you. I don't give a shit.
All right. So
My address is.
shit almost got real. All right. So, do we finally want to get into the actual topic?
Cowboy Bebop!
Cowboy Bebop! All right. Right after this break. No, I'm kidding.
Right,
We're like 15 minutes in.
We got 15 minutes. This is we're on record pace, Josh. We've never gotten to the actual anime this fast.
I don't know. I think we might have gotten sooner, but I don't think we go on tangents this often.
It took us like 30 minutes.
All right, but let's get into it. So, Cowboy Bebop. It's probably like, I don't know if it's the most popular anime, but like it's certainly the most like, beginner friendly anime. At least like that's the reputation it has, right? Is that like
I don't know if that's quite true. I wouldn't call it a deep cut because enough people know about it that it's not really like a secret. But like a lot of people will start with like Naruto or with like Full Metal Alchemist or
I feel like that's what you start with if you're like a kid growing up in the generations where those were like being released.
So
because like
that's the thing. This was the second anime that I ever saw. I just on it like HBO or something when I was growing up, or I don't know if we had HBO, but like at some point somehow I saw Howl's Moving Castle, and that was the first anime that I ever saw. Very shortly after that, I saw I was like sleeping on the couch at some point for some reason, and the TV was on and I was watching Cartoon Network, and I was up later than I should have been, and I shouldn't, like, I was supposed to be in bed. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I'm stirred from my sleep by Toonami Tom saying, "And now for something completely different," and then
I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
that's how I started watching Cowboy Bebop, and I feel like that's a lot of people's first experiences with Cowboy Bebop. I mean, assuming that you were alive in that era and had an interest in anime at that point, or even just like watched Cartoon Network and were a fucking deviant child that stayed up playing video games and watching cartoons later than they should have.
Yeah, but like that wasn't my experience of things. Like Cowboy Bebop always existed as like this this thing that like people who were at least kind of into anime would like recommend as like a first anime, because like at least for me anyway, like it was always like the I would like be talking to people about it and be like, well, I've never seen anything, and then they'd be like, oh, Cowboy Bebop, try that, because like in a way it is like really like super friendly to like American audiences, or at least like people who don't already watch it.
The dub is incredible, and it genuinely is just one of the best shows that I've ever seen, like bar none.
Yeah, like, and like it doesn't. It has a surprisingly like American sensibility, in terms of like the way that the story is paced and like the tropes it decides to go for or not go for, like
right.
even when compared to the stuff that we've watched up to this point in the show, like this is just like, you know, like it feels almost tailor made for like an international audience that isn't used to like the tropes and trappings that anime has developed over time.
Right. I mean, like, you've got Faye, which is very, like, I mean, she's not the most fan servicey character you've ever seen in your life, but,
Mm-hmm.
like, every third episode or something that she's in, she'll be in, like, a completely new outfit, and it's like, oh, this slit cut dress where it's like her whole leg is out, and it's like,
Yeah, but
and
like,
she's a femme fatale, and she's just
yes,
very, like, but she much more fits that femme fatale trope than she does, like, anime woman who is titty and has booba. Like,
yeah, like, and I think that that's kind of interesting, like considering because like I don't ever think I've ever heard like the creators like be explicit about wanting to like appeal to an international audience or whatever, you know?
right.
Like it never seemed like it was trying terribly hard to you know, like become the biggest anime ever. I don't think it is, but I don't think it was ever trying to be
I
either.
think they just wanted to tell a story, and like
Yeah.
that's, you know,
Yeah.
that sometimes it's the best thing you can do. You can have a story and you can tell
Mhm.
it, and you can tell it well, and you don't have to try to be like the biggest best thing out there. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
lot of it's how I like. I mean, it's that's most of the musicians I like too. Which Cowboy Bebop has a lot of roots in like musicality.
Yeah.
They they didn't pitch this show really as like
Mhm.
new wave jazz or like a new form of they didn't pitch it as a form of music, but they did. Yeah, I mean, like even in the opening credits
Mhm.
scroll during like the OP, there are like phrases that are like marked out that like tell kind of a story.
Yeah.
Um,
That's in
do you
the
have that in the notes here?
yeah,
I can
I
read
have the
that
whole
out.
thing in the outline.
No way.
Yeah, if you want to read the whole thing, it's out there. Did
Oh,
you
is it
want to
under
read it out loud?
genre?
Yeah, it's under genre.
Yeah, so just this is kind of like the way that they wanted the show to be seen.
Hmm.
So, Josh, turn the
Okay.
lights down. Get one
Yep.
spotlight on the stage, please. I've got a microphone, I've got a cigarette, and I've got a glass of whiskey. Um,
Yeah.
Once upon a time in New York City in 1941, at this club open to all comers to play night after night at a club named Minston's Playhouse in Harlem. They play jazz sessions, competing with each other. Young jazzmen with new scents are gathering. At last, they created a new genre itself. They are sick and tired of the conventional fixed style jazz. They're eager to play jazz more freely as they wish. Then, in 2071, in the universe, the bounty hunters who are gathering in the spaceship Bebop will play freely, without fear of risky things. They must create new dreams and films by breaking traditional styles. The work, which becomes a new genre itself, will become Cowboy Bebop. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be here all week.
Slow drag from the cigarette.
So yeah, I mean, like they really saw this as kind of like an art piece, as like a
Hmm.
story to tell, and each
Yeah.
episode, not only is each episode its own contained story, which does house like this larger narrative within it,
Hmm.
but each episode is like its own genre of show. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, which is like it's kind of interesting to think about like how artful this show is because like one of the things that really like struck me upon like first watching it is that like it's not just shooty shooty bang bang all the time. Like that stuff happens and it's cool, but like especially in episodes of like Ganymede Elegy, like that
Yep.
episode in particular, like things are like super like you know they draw things out and they allow you to like feel the environment and the emotions of whatever scene you're in, and like that's really really interesting when you compare it with like the way this was like started in production, which is like basically Bandai went up to the guys who created Gundam and were like, "Hey, we'll let you make literally whatever the fuck you want as long as there are cool spaceships we can
That's
make money
right.
off
They
of."
wanted to make the Bandai Namco, not Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco is the video game.
Yeah, it's just
division.
Bandai.
Bandai was a toy company originally, and Bandai wanted to make cool spaceship toys, and they approached the fucking the Gundam. They made this is a not Sunflow. What is this fucking
Sunrise.
Sunrise, yeah. Who made they made some of the Gundam series and
Visions of Escaflowne.
Escaflowne, yes.
Yeah.
And they just wanted a show that they could use as a vessel to market spaceship toys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were just like, you can make literally whatever the fuck you want as long as it's got spaceships that we can sell toys off of. And then they started developing this project. And the funny thing is that Bandai like looked at them at a certain point and were like, no, this is too weird. We can't do this.
Yeah, they gave them all of this money to make this show to sell spaceship toys, and then never made the spaceship toys because they were like, yeah, this fucking like neo-noir future
Western,
space cowboy western thing, this is not going to sell toys to anybody, which is their fucking fault, because the only reason that I do not have the fucking Bebop and the fucking, oh god, what is Spike's little like cruiser called? I can't remember.
Man.
The only reason I don't have models of those sitting in my fucking room is one, because I'm poor, and two, because they don't fucking exist.
It's called the Swordfish 2.
That's right, the Swordfish 2.
Yeah, those would be fucking cool to have on your shelf or whatever.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, but like...
Fuck you, Bandai.
Yeah, but Bandai
us,
dropped the Bandai toy division dropped the support, but then another division of Bandai Visual was like, oh well, we'll just pick this up and we'll keep funding it because it looks really, really cool and we believe in it. And now it's just like part of the great anime pantheon.
And thank fucking god they did.
Yeah, like I think I had like I thought I had a quote on it or something, but like I think like the day that they dropped support, one of the creators was like, "Well, shit, I'm gonna be flipping
you're talking about
burgers the
the
rest
thing
of my
where
life."
Shinichiro Watanabe was talking about like, you've got one here. You want to read this quote by Shinichiro Watanabe? Shinichiro, sorry.
Yeah.
Shinichiro
Yeah, this
Watanabe.
is more about like the inspiration of the world, but like I wanted to create a futuristic world, but a world that people actually live in. Only movie characters could live in the worlds they depict in Star Wars and other science fiction films, which I don't personally agree with. I think that this show like kind of falls in line with stuff like Star Wars and Alien, which is really, really cool.
Eat shit,
anyway.
Josh. Star Wars is a much inferior film series to Cowboy Bebop.
Not saying it isn't, just saying I like design. But anyway, continuing with this quote, I wanted to make a world where people live and breathe, even if it's just a shot of an empty sidewalk. There should be cigarette butts or some other visible traces that people actually walk through that setting. Which, like, that's exactly what I think, like, good science fiction does. Like, you know, like, it feels like plausible, like real world, you know, where like,
I can 100% see 200 or 300 years in the future from now. Most of the things in this show, I could see that being our future.
Yeah. Like,
which like sounds weird, but like it's not so far off. Most of it is contained within our solar system, but they do have like hyperspeed travel, and like a lot of people have access to like interstellar transportation. And a lot of people, like, Earth has become mostly uninhabitable and has been left for people who are like, you know, very not well off. But even there are some people out there who are still very not well off that still manage to make it off world, and they live on Mars now, or they live on the moons of Mars, or in these little Terra colonies on other planets. I mean, and with the way that, such a forward thinking show. It's ridiculous.
Mhm.
Because, like, I mean, even though there are like weird things, like they still have like the most recent thing that was technology before the jump forward. They had like this. What was it? Was it a VHS tape or
That's
was
in
it
a
like a
later
fucking?
episode, I think. But yeah, like they do have a VHS tape that like a whole episode revolves around.
Yeah, I mean, like, so they have, and they're like, "What the fuck is this? What? Who?" And even now, like, walk up to your fucking 6-year-old nephew and show him one of those big ass Lego brick looking pieces of shit and ask him what it is.
But yeah, like I he says that this show is that the show isn't like Star Wars and that it feels like a believable world, but I actually think that's one of the things that like Star Wars and Cowboy Bebop kind of have in common. Star Wars doesn't feel like an extension of our real world in the sense that like it's in the future of our real world, but it does feel like a real lived-in world, at least at its best, because things are like grungy and dirty and like people complain about equipment malfunctioning all the time and like there are people stuck on planets they don't want to be on because they can't fucking afford to go anywhere else. Like, it feels like real world as opposed to like other science fiction worlds. Like, I haven't watched a lot of Star Trek, but I think Star Trek comes to mind as like a little too polished for my liking, where it feels like
I'll
things are too
defend Star
easy in the
Trek. I
world.
will defend Star Trek. Star Trek is explicitly formed from a
Mhm.
utopia. Like the
Yeah.
whole concept of Star Trek is not that they would be like space warriors. They are explorers. The world and society that they live in is a perfect utopia.
Yeah, but like what I mostly mean is that like it feels more difficult for me to get invested in a utopia. Like, one, because I don't really think there's much of a possibility that we'll ever get there, but also like I think that the world's more interesting when there are like, extremely like both human and systematic problems for people to deal with. And that feels, man, and like there's not much room there when you're creating a utopian society in a show. Like, that's not me saying that Star Trek is inherently bad. It's just like I find those worlds less interesting than, like the world of Cowboy Bebop or Star Wars or Alien or anything like this where like the worlds feel really lived in.
I gotcha. I like.
Mhm.
I totally see that. I can understand. Like, there's like a disconnect between. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the sequel trilogy.
Okay, go right ahead.
There's a scene in like the first movie of the sequel trilogy where Rey is living on this planet and she's just kind of working and the society that she lives in. No, fuck you. I'm not talking about the sequel trilogy. I'm going to talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Is that the fucking game that
That's
came out?
that's an EA game from like 2018 or
Yeah,
2017 or something like that.
good game. That game starts and the guy that you're playing as, he's a Jedi, but he's like
Mhm.
in hiding because like the Jedi Order has fucking fallen to pieces. But
Yeah.
he's working in this like mining colony, and so you see this entire civilization of people that are working for the Empire
Mhm.
because like it's the only thing they can do to like survive. It's the only way that they can make money. It's the only way they can feed themselves and their families.
Yeah.
And it is very like, I mean, like, you know, Josh and I talk a lot about like how we still have to work and do other things outside of this podcast to
Mhm.
survive. But like genuinely, like I see aspects of my life and other people who I know who like they have to work these shitty, terrible jobs that they hate just because it's the only job that they can get, and they have to keep working it. And
Mhm.
there's a lot more realism there than there is in like we all live on a big floating spaceship that goes on adventures.
Yeah. Um but yeah, and like that's clearly like one of the great elements of the show. Like, one of the things that I think is really interesting about the world, you like kind of touched on this, is that like, we have like interspace, I mean like, hyperspeed travel and stuff, but we're still like pretty much contained to like, adjacent planets in our solar system. Like I think the farthest people go is like
Jupiter. I think.
isn't Ganymede a moon of
I think
Jupiter?
Ganymede is a moon of Jupiter. Give me one.
But yeah, but that's still in our solar system. Like, and like it that feels
Yes,
more logical to me. Like at
Ganymede
least
is a satellite of Jupiter.
yeah, so like that makes sense to me. Like, if we fucked up the earth so badly that we needed to leave, we wouldn't like go off to like in the middle of space to some other planet. We would like colonize adjacent planets
That's
and
the
just
other
have
thing
like
too.
travel.
The timeline that we're on currently for for the technological capability of space travel within the next 200 years or so, which is probably about the timeline that would work out for, the entire collapse of the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Like within 30 years, apparently, like allegedly, according to the scientists, which usually I try and believe the scientists. They usually know what they're
We're pro
talking about,
science podcast.
and they're paid to know what the fuck they're talking about. Like we're already at a point of no return with the whole fucking climate change thing.
Mm-hmm.
If we keep on this path and the people that are supposed to be protecting us and saving us from this don't fucking do anything, we won't have the time to get further than our solar system. Like, we'll have to throw together some shit to just get off the planet and then figure something else out.
Yeah.
So, the largest planet outside of Earth is Mars in this universe. A lot of people talk about, like, yeah, Mars is where I want to go. Mars is where I want to end up. Even in the first episode, you've got the girl, I can't remember their names, but the lady and the guy who are like smuggling the like red
eye in
yeah
on TJ.
Yeah, Tijuana, which is like a moon of Mars, I think, in this universe.
Or something like that.
Or like a city on a moon of Mars or something. They're like, we want to end up on Mars. Mars is where like the new society is. The world building is phenomenal. And it's all we've been talking about. We are coming up on 40 minutes, and I kind of have to pee.
Okay.
So
this is a good time to take an ad break anyway. So we'll be right back after this short message.
We'll talk plot. We'll talk character development. We'll talk story. Welcome back from the ad break. Josh, how was your ad break?
It was pretty nice. I had a good piss. We've got new drinks now. I've got Sierra Mist and strawberry lemonade vodka. So, good combination. You're still just drinking straight whiskey, right?
Yes, Powers Irish Whiskey.
Powers Irish Whiskey.
Powers. Irish Whiskey. Yes, Powers Irish Whiskey.
Austin Powers is English, you dipshit.
Eat my taint and ass. Fuck you. Shut up. The Irish haven't ever done a whole lot good, but the two things that I can give them credit for is the IRA.
The what?
I mean the whiskey. The whiskey's good.
I too like to live dangerously.
So, we were talking about world building. We've covered a lot about world building.
Like the only other thing I really have to say about world building in this regard is that like I think it's cool that like all of the areas have like their own like distinguishable cultures, which I think is really cool. Like Tijuana is like more Mexican cultured, and like it's just like this asteroid colony that like people generally don't like to go to. It's only featured in one episode, so it's kind of hard to really glean much off of that. But then like you got like Mars, which like they literally have like these terraformed cities built into the craters, which is so fucking cool to me.
Yeah.
Like
And the way that with the domes and shit, like
Yeah.
they're not domes, but you know,
I mean, it almost feels like there should be a dome, but
it's
like I don't know how they're doing that. But
the
like,
worlds, the ships, the music.
mhm.
Josh, if you
Yeah.
can't tell, if you can't, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and preempt this. This show is a 10 out of 10 from me. This show is a 10 out of 10 from me.
Yeah.
It is a perfect piece of media.
I don't know if
Perfect.
any piece of media is perfect, but like this might be as close as it gets.
I don't know. I don't think you okay. I don't think you can get perfect. But like
Yeah.
there are so many things about this show that I enjoy
Hmm.
in every single aspect that far outweighs any criticism that I have of it.
Yeah. I think that one of the most interesting things about this show is like the melding of all these different genre elements, you know? Like, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Don't worry about it. This is the first time we've recorded this show where Josh can see the things that I'm doing while we're recording.
Yeah. And I think we're going to have a video version of this on YouTube. So if you prefer,
fuck.
should I have told you that up front?
He didn't. You should have told me about that up front.
But yeah, I think we're going to start doing video versions now. So if you prefer to listen to your podcast that way, we probably should have brought that up earlier. But
there we go. A little bit better lighting.
I mean, my lighting sucks too. So but what was I saying? Oh yeah, like this show like manages to make like all these like different genres that meld together, and like it somehow feels like super cohesive. Like I think it's most prominently like a neo-western in terms of like the structure and like the way the world functions, at least on a micro level. Like,
right. Okay, let's talk about the characters because we haven't talked about the characters. The main plot of this show, which almost an hour in, probably a good enough time to talk as any. The main cast is Spike Spiegel, Jet, Faye Valentine, and what do they call him? Crazy Ed?
Shit, what the fuck? Radical
Ridiculous
Edward.
Radical Edward.
What's their full name?
Ed is short for Edward Wong Hao Pepelu Tivrutski the Fourth. Ed made it up, you know. Nice to meet you.
I'll go ahead and tell you about this. This group is the crew of the Bebop, including Einstein. We cannot forget Einstein.
McCutie.
Spike and Jet have been working together for a long time. Jet is a former cop. They're bounty hunters. That's like the entire premise of the show. They are trying to make ends meet by finding outlaws and hunting them down and capturing them and turning them in for the bounty.
Yeah.
And they all have their own like subplots, things that they are personally invested in, things that they that drive them forward. For Spike, that is very vague for the first half of the show, which we're covering tonight. I won't go into much past that. But Spike has I wouldn't say a crush, but he's
got a past
involved.
with a woman.
He's got a past with this woman named Julia, which also ties him in with some sort of crime syndicate, some sort of organization, which is now headed by a man they call Vicious. And so you've got this rivalry. And when I say rivalry, I'm not talking about like Pokemon where he like calls Spike smell you later shithead. Like they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
Spike and Vicious. For Jet, he used to be a cop. He has his own involvements with different characters and different people throughout this world, which they touch on a lot in Ganymede Elegy.
Yeah, and like
episode
you see
10.
in like little glimpses in other episodes where like, you know, some random character will show up and like he knows them and like you can tell his age and like how much he's like been around the world by like
Right,
just
like
like
in
how
one
many people
episode,
recognize him.
There's this like scientist or researcher or something that they get involved with that like they're like, come on, just give us a break on this one. He's like, all right, whatever. They have a lot of connections. This is they have a lot of connections.
Yeah.
There are a lot of characters that know them. There are a lot of characters that they bounce off of and interact with that just build out the world. Faye is the only character that we've got like a taste of her backstory in a significant amount so far. With the episode, well, we've got the introduction to her like discovery of her backstory. Like everybody else, we've got snippets of, and we know there is a backstory. In this first set of episodes, in the first 13 episodes, Faye is the only person who we have like an established mystery behind her backstory and like a want to return to that. Not necessarily to return to what she used to be, but to discover what that is. Faye doesn't remember her own like history. Everybody else does, and they're putting it behind them. Faye is the one character that we've got where it's like we don't really know who she is. There's a lot of mystery behind her. There's some talk of her being like an ancient deity or some god that is just like time immortal. But there's also like, okay, well, is this some experiment? Is this some weird like time lapse thing that happened where she got like stuck because of some event? And it's very unclear, but she lived. There's like some sort of situation where she's been around for a long fucking time. And she doesn't remember much about the past. Or she does and is very like wishy-washy about it.
Yeah, and one of the things that's like interesting about the show is that like of the 3 adults in the group, she's the only one who's like new to the bounty hunting thing, right? Because like as far as I know in the show, like she hasn't really done that in the past. She's had like other bump ups with other like crime adjacent stuff, but like when she joins the Bebop, she's learning kind of how to do the bounty hunting thing, and she's got like this very like flippant attitude about it. Like she thinks that she understands entirely how it works, and like you see her screw up a lot. Like I think about that the scene in one of the episodes where like she literally like she thinks that this big buff dude is the guy she's looking for, and she like points a gun in his face and she's like, don't move, and the guy who she's looking for is right behind him.
Sorry, it's not personal. This is my job.
What'd I do wrong?
It's no use playing innocent. I can see the edge of your dragon tattoo.
You got the wrong guy.
Hey, you with the glasses. Put a call into the police. Let him know I caught Decker.
No, wait, stop! No!
What the hell's that?
I got a thing for eels.
It's clear that like she's like this isn't really her element yet, like, you know, and she's especially like kind of flippant about her money and like how she's willing to spend it, whereas like I don't know, I feel like the others are a little more cautious with their money, like, you know.
Right. They are more cautious with their money. They're all fucking broke. there's like there is a storyline that continues from episode to episode, but in the same token, it is a very episodic show.
Yeah.
Where, for the most part, things return to the status quo between the end of one episode and the beginning of the next. There are a lot of like time skips where we don't see the crew of the Bebop for some undisclosed period of time between the end of one episode and the beginning of the next, unless it's like explicitly a part 1 and a part 2, like the last 2 episodes of this of the first half, episode 12 and episode 13. But like, even then, was it episode 11? The fucking, I can't remember the title of it.
Episode 11 is Toys in the Attic, if that's true.
Toys in the Attic. The episode where there's like some weird like gelatin monster on the ship. And like everyone dies. Except no, they don't. They're back in episode 12. Like, the show is very episodic, and each episode is very central and focused on its own story. But the character arcs and the characters interacting with one another, all of that flows through each episode.
Yeah. And I think that episode is like really like, it seems like the least connected to the rest of the series, because it distinctly doesn't like take place in a I don't know, I guess like it doesn't really follow the chronology of the rest of the show. It's almost explicitly like, what if? But at the same time, like, it feels like a kind of a window into like the way the show is working, where like, it's not being flippant about like, the world building or the characters or anything, but it's also like not so far up its ass in terms of like, staying consistent or like, giving you all of the answers or anything like that. And like, it's mostly just there to like be fun and be entertaining and like give you a good emotional experience along the way.
With the next set of episodes, we haven't gotten into Mushroom Mamba, have we yet?
No, we haven't.
Okay, so the next set of episodes will get some more like interesting stuff like that, but it is the second half of the series, so there is a lot more like, here are some answers to the questions you have. I'm not going to talk about the end of the show. I can't talk about the end of the show.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet.
You're in for a treat, John.
I've seen Mushroom Samba, but I haven't gotten to that.
Oh, you have seen Mushroom Samba. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like, Toys in the Attic is just like a, like, side note, like, it's just a total shitpost of an episode, right? Like, it's just, like, it's literally just like, okay, you've been watching like 10 episodes of this show, you've gotten super invested into the characters and like, them trying to like get their shit together and like learn and like, and finally like get somewhere in their lives. And then the show is just like, well, one of them they all got bitten by this monster and died, and that's it, the end. And
but it's like, simultaneously a very silly episode, but it's also very like dark and fucked up. And it's like they were like, okay, well, what if we took these characters and put them in like a space horror and we trapped them on this ship with an unknown entity and made it kind of like Alien? Like, what if we did that? Yeah. There's one episode where they're like, okay, well, what if we turn this into the one episode where they have to hunt down that guy who's like in the body of the kid.
Oh, yes. That's shit.
Man.
Sympathy for the Devil.
Sympathy for the Devil, yeah. I mean, every single episode has basically its own genre. Like Heavy Metal Queen.
Metal Queen, yeah.
Where they meet up with this she's a truck driver, but it's in space. So they're like big fucking space cargo ships that are like hundreds of feet long, and they they most of the episode is set in like these spaceships where they're like in a chase with somebody, and they eventually wind up in this asteroid field, and they have to navigate their way through. And it's like, okay, well, what if Cowboy Bebop was a car chase episode? The first one is kind of like the most vanilla Western thing we get, where it's asteroid blues, and they have they're chasing down let's see, Asimov, that's his name, Asimov, and his girlfriend, wife, whatever, Katerina, and they chase them down, and they try and collect the bounty, and they end up in a shootout with the police, and Asimov and Katerina die, and so Spike and Jet can't collect the bounty, and that's how most of these things end up. They're either, and that's how we return to that status quo. They either cannot collect the bounty for some reason, or they allow the bounty to escape. Like in oh god, what's that episode? Oh man.
Waltz for Venus?
Waltz for Venus, yeah. Where Spike meets Rocco, and Rocco's like this guy, he's just like this fairly innocent dude. He's trying to help his sister, he's trying to protect her, but he gets involved with this criminal this criminal underworld on Venus. And it turns out he's the bounty that they are like chasing. And Spike has to navigate this situation where it's like, okay, well, do I capture this guy and turn him in for the bounty and completely fuck over this completely innocent girl that is like completely reliant on her brother, or do I just let them go about as normal? And and it ends up Rocco, I think Rocco's killed, but Spike still manages to get this plant. It's some sort of flower that has these properties that allows the sister to regain her eyesight, which is why she's relying on her brother, because she's blind. So it's very bittersweet, and a lot of these episodes are very bittersweet. It's just, oh man,
like that's the thing, is like the show does have like, it's not always consistent, but like at least like half or 60% of the episodes have like a fairly similar structure, where it's like, establish the bounty, then they capture them, shit gets complicated, they either lose them or let them go, or the person dies or whatever, and then they're back at the status quo. I think that like over the course of like these episodes, they only really get to fulfill like 2 bounties on screen, maybe 3.
So and even then they're like, okay, well, because of these extenuating circumstances, all that money's gone by the next episode.
Like they're always like just so tight on the change, and like that's what really makes it like, interesting to see them like try to get these people, and and like there's enough times where they do succeed that you're not like, well, fuck, there's no way they're gonna do it this time, because that's just the structure. But like it does feel like they're always like just shy on luck,
The only other type of episode there is, other than like they neglect a bounty, not neglect, but they lose a bounty, is for some reason the subject of that bounty joins their crew. So like Stray Dog Strut, the second episode, something about Einstein, this data dog, is special. So some people are looking for him, and shit happens, and they wind up just like, okay, Einstein's part of the crew now. They call him Ein. Goodest boy. Best boy. Very next episode, they run across Faye Valentine, and she doesn't really join the crew, but she kind of does, and they hold her hostage, and eventually Faye winds up, they cross paths enough times that they're just like, okay, fuck it, whatever, I guess you're with us now, you can help us. And she fucks off like 40% of the time. She's just gone doing her own thing. She's like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna go check this shit out. They're like, what, where are you going, what the fuck are you doing? And she's just like, I'll be back or I won't.
But like, and like the interesting thing about the show is like, it's like the way that these characters have like this kind of empathy towards other people in the world, where like, on the one hand, like they're not so empathetic towards people that they're not willing to like, to take a bounty or whatever, but at the same time, like they do feel like they're trying to live in the world in the least harmful way possible.
Right. They have morals. Like they come across people who like they recognize, if I do this, this will destroy this person's life. I can't do this. But at the same time, like I have to be able to feed myself. I have to be able to fuel the Bebop. I have to be able to like make sure that Jet and now Faye and now Ed and now Ein, I have to make sure these people are okay because they rely on me. And every single one of them has this connection with the other members of the Bebop. That they're like,
and there's like
man, we're fans.
There's like I mean, but like there's also like a consistent like fuck you kind of attitude towards each other,
right? Like Spike goes off in episodes. Is it Jupiter Jazz?
Jupiter Jazz. Like in Jupiter Jazz, he goes off and Jet's like, if you leave, like don't come back, and he does.
Right, Faye fucks off,
like, and then like I believe early on in the second part, they're at a call or something, and he's like, okay, you can come back on if you bring the bounty. And then at the very end, he comes back and he's like,
what are you bringing in?
Nothing. Hurry up and get inside. We're taking off.
Yeah.
So like, there's always like this push and pull of like trying to create a face of like steelness and like, I don't give a shit about you. But at the end of the day, like there's always this empathetic reliance they all have on each other, and like this empathy towards like the rest of the world, that they don't want to like fuck over people who aren't genuinely terrible.
The first, as far as I can remember, the first instance of this, of like infighting within the crew, but then like they all still accept each other. They also like, all right, come on back, we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Is episode 5, I think it's called Balin of Fallen Angels, which is the first introduction of Vicious, where Spike confronts Vicious in like this cathedral, and I think Faye's there. She gets kidnapped by Vicious. Am I right about this, or am I?
Yes, she gets kidnapped.
Faye fucks off to go do something. Spike is like, oh shit, it's Vicious. Jet's like, all right, you fuck off, don't come back, you fight Vicious, what the fuck ever, you're on your own on this bullshit. And he gets fucked up, and then they're just like, all right, we got you, man, come on back. And then he's just in like a full body cast, and then by the next episode,
like no questions asked.
For the devil. By the next episode, Sympathy for the Devil, they're just like, okay, everybody's good to go.
Yep. So like that's kind of part of like the I guess the not the empathy, but like the morality of the show plays is in like these interesting people who are like, like they have like some moral grayness, but like they ultimately kind of have like a clear moral center that is like, I'm not gonna fuck up anybody who like doesn't deserve it.
Right. They are bounty hunters. Their whole fucking livelihood
Mhm.
depends on the fact that they can find people that have been declared by somebody else to have
Yeah.
done something wrong. They can
Mhm.
find them and capture them. But almost every time, not almost every time, but like the times that they actually catch up with them
Mhm.
and they aren't obviously bad people and then something else goes wrong,
Yeah.
the times that they catch up with these people, they're challenged.
Mhm.
Like in um not Jamming with Edward. Jamming with Edward is like one of the only episodes where they don't have a bounty head, or
They do have a bounty
they
head,
do
but
have
it
a bounty head.
ends with like a technicality of like, well, this thing isn't actually like a human being. Which, like, by the way, that's
That's
fucking
right.
bullshit.
That's right. The thing that was the bounty head was like
Yeah.
some program that Ed
Yeah.
made.
By the way, like, that's fucking bullshit. That thing, like, they established that thing wanted friends and was capable of making art. If, like, that doesn't, like, give you enough proof that it is sentient, then nothing is sentient, okay? And if it's sentient, then you can place a bounty on it. That's what I think. But, of course, whatever government that
That's
runs
a
the world doesn't really care about that.
that's a take, Josh.
Huh?
If it's sentient, you can put a bounty on it.
I mean, if we're accepting that we can put a bounty on anything, then, the computer program is sentient enough to be bountyable as much as a human is, in my
And
opinion.
then Ed joins the party.
Yeah. But anyway, like, and that kind of like leads me into like the world around them, because like it's interesting, like they're kind of like in this system where, like, you know I don't understand exactly like how things are run, if like all the planets are run by like a single unified like human country, or if they're like separate countries for each planet, or like how that works exactly.
They
But
don't
like
very much get into that.
but there is like a
I can't remember if they dig into that later, but
uh
they're like very clearly our government heads. Like
mhm.
there's one I
There's
think in the episode where in Ballad of Fallen Angels, I think there's some sort of like political overtone of that episode where where like the reason that they find Vicious is because he like
no, it's
killed some
because
politician.
I mean, the gang that he was a part of, I think, was trying to make a deal with a different gang, and and he goes in and like kills both of them because he doesn't want to deal with any of them.
Mm.
But like there is like a government of some kind, because we see that in uh shit, what's the one with the Gateway Shuffle? In Gateway
Gateway
Shuffle,
Shuffle.
there's a government that the eco terrorists are like bargaining with, and that there's also like the police, which obviously that means that there's a government as well. And like what I'm saying is that like there is like an overarching system here of like it's like it's not quite like it's not the Wild West that we used to know, but it's kind of like a new Wild
For all
West.
intents and purposes, it is. It's the Wild West on a much larger scale.
Yeah, but like what I'm trying to get at is that like, you know, because like they're participating in this like bounty system for their livelihoods, they're also participating in a moral system. And like
Mm-hmm.
as they encounter all these people who have got bounties on their heads, but their situations are so much more complex, I'm starting to wonder if like at any point they'll have like moral thoughts about whatever about like their complicity in that, you know?
Josh, I've decided that we're expanding our schedule by 2 weeks because we are going to watch the Cowboy Bebop movie. Mm. I also want to take this moment to I'm on the Wikipedia page for Cowboy Bebop and the episode list, and I just
Yeah.
want to take a moment to read out the Japanese names for a couple of these episodes
Okay.
because they are just Romanji. Asteroidal Bruiser. Honky Tonku Woman. Gateway Shuffle. Heavy Metal Queen. Sorry, Heavy Metal Queen.
I'm sure that you won't get roasted for your
Vinasu.
Japanese.
Huh?
I'm sure you won't get roasted for your Japanese pronunciation.
My Japanese pronunciation, especially while intoxicated, is probably not very good. Take a look at the fucking page. If you can speak Japanese better than me, take a look at the page. It's Romanji. It's just like the English pronunciation of these words, except in Japanese.
Yeah. I didn't notice that. That's pretty funny.
Asteroidal Bruisu.
But yeah, like, so like, and even like if the characters don't ever come to a reckoning of that, it's an interesting field for our protagonists to be like working in, you know, in this like kind of moral gray area where you're not really sure at any given point, like if they should be in the business that they're in, but you're also like, what other options are there, you know, like especially in a world that seems so interested in like keeping people in the place that there are and like limiting upward mobility.
Right. And especially for these people, like Spike used to be fully involved with a crime syndicate. Jet is an ex-cop. Like, there are not a lot of jobs in this world that will accept, because a lot of businesses, as we can see, is even with like episode 2, where it's the Stray Dog Strut, where they where there's that woman who runs this pet shop. Even she is like minorly involved in like criminal organizations, and you can like see that.
Yeah,
and it's like, who's gonna accept an ex-cop? You've got Faye, who is purportedly like hundreds of years old. She doesn't even have like records of herself, but like everybody kind of knows about her. Where's she gonna get a job unless it's like underhand dealing for like whoever? Like she kind of works with that with the casino in that one episode. And then Edward, fucking Ed, is a child. He's a hacker. She's a hacker. And she, I'm sorry I said he, just, you know, brainworms. She is a criminal.
Yeah.
Like
a notorious enough one that like Jet walks into like some kind of like shanty town or whatever and asks like 10 different people, and they all have like their own interpretations of who this person is.
Yeah, it's probably Ed, bro. He's a big mother, like maybe 7 feet tall. Used to play basketball, at least that's what everyone says.
Of course I know about Ed. They call him Radical Edward, a hacker with a beautiful yet whimsical technique.
No. Edward's only 3 years old. A freak of nature who loves horrible pranks, I hear.
Audrey, my girlfriend, told me all about Edward. He's a drag queen at one of those operations.
A super bad hacker. You must mean Radical Edward. He's an alien, that's what I heard.
Like, oh, Ed. That guy's nuts. Don't fuck with that guy. That is, oh my god. I would say that's one of my favorite scenes from the entire series, but every single one of these scenes is one of my favorite scenes from the entire series. It's such a good fucking show! Don't ask me about Einstein. Einstein's a dog. Einstein can't get a job.
Yeah. The only thing I'm a little disappointed in is that they don't give Ein much to do. Like, that's a valid criticism, right? That like after the second episode, he doesn't do much.
Him puppy!
The only other thing I do really want to touch while it's still relevant, just because like this character doesn't really get made, like this character
Gren
dies, and Gren. So like representation in the show in general, because like if you look at a lot of the media, like, you know, even not as far back as like, you know, the 2000s,
right? Especially Western media. Now, even like, in Japanese media, especially anime, a lot of the characters that you see are like this vague, like white/Japanese, non-specific, some sort of ethnicity, which, fair enough. But like every single character in this show is like, I wouldn't say explicitly some ethnicity, but like everybody is just a person. And there are all kinds of people out there. There are people with darker skin tones, people with lighter skin tones. Grin is I think you said something about the TV show, the
new
Netflix show, where they like explicitly state that Grin is non-binary.
I don't know if they explicitly stated in the show because I haven't seen it, but I know that the actor is non-binary.
We'll talk more about this in the next episode.
Yeah, but actually, maybe when we do the Cowboy Bebop movie, we could do like the movie and then like do a discussion afterwards about the show, about the new show.
Yeah, we could do it.
But
I don't want to watch the whole fucking thing, but I guess we could do a bonus episode on the Netflix show.
We'll see. We'll figure it out. But anyway, what was I about to say? But yeah, like the representation in this show is actually like really, really good for its time. Like it's not perfect. In Jupiter Jazz, like, there's like some pretty iffy like drag queen representation in like a minor part, and then like Gren's
there is
like
that one episode where Faye like points a gun at two gay people.
Yeah, like
while they're having sex.
Yeah, like I think that's pretty, and that's pretty good representation.
It's
I think.
Fair enough. Like she thinks one of them might be the bounty, I believe.
Yeah,
and they're just guys. She didn't mention it. She didn't bring anything up, which is like, it's great. There's a lot of very good representation. I will say it's interesting that Grin is a character in this show. And they are non-binary, and they have the sex characteristics of a woman and of a man. But they kind of treat it a little weird for like modern standards.
Yeah.
It's not like a huge thing, but they're like, oh, it's some strange experiment that like went wrong or something.
Which like
sits off with me, but it is interesting that they delve into this subject matter.
I think that,
especially for the time, and they treat it for the most part, they treat it very well.
Yeah, they treat him like a real character with his own shit going on that is besides that. You know? Like
he's not just, oh, it's this girl with a penis. Like they're a character. Grin is a fleshed out character. They have and we don't get a whole lot into it, but there's a backstory there, and you can tell that there's more to this person.
Yeah, like,
which is a lot more than you can ask from a lot of other shows of this time.
Yeah, and even today, like, it's there is still media that has a tough time representing as like, gender ambiguity and non-binariness as much as this show does. Like, Edward's a little gender ambiguous. Right. And then obviously Gren is like, I think that the science experiment thing was more of like a justification for why it happened. Like, because like it was the 90s and non-binary wasn't really like a concept. So like so they had to kind of explain it away. But like, otherwise they treat, well, should I say him or them? Because like it's them in the new show, but they say him in the original show. And
I would say them. I can't remember off the top of my head if Grin goes by him. If Grin goes by him, if Grin introduces themselves as him, then obviously it's him.
I don't know if he
I can't remember.
I don't know if they introduce themselves as him, but like I do remember that like people refer to them as him, and like he doesn't ever seem to object to it. But I don't know. Like it's in the like again, it's in the ambiguous area where like these non-binary concepts didn't were like I wouldn't say they didn't exist because I don't know all the history of these concepts, but like
but at least
they were certainly
very,
not like
at least
ubiquitous.
controversial. Like this would have been the kind of thing that if you showed this show to the wrong person and they got this far, they might have had a problem with this. And even still today, there are probably some people that might have a problem with this. But you know.
Yeah, but like especially for the time, I would say that this is like, you know, I give this show a representation like B plus, you know, or A minus, you know, like it's not perfect, but
even contemporarily,
it did really, really well, you know. But yeah, that's
well, okay. I will say this is coming from two straight white men.
You know, I mean, I'm not the authority on like representation. That's just the grade I give it, you know. I mean, if you disagree or you have other thoughts about the show, you know, send us an email or something and we'll read it in the next episode. Well, I guess we won't because we're recording these ahead of time, but we'll read them in a different episode and we'll make sure to talk about that.
Right.
You know,
we might have, because of the way that we're structuring the next couple of months, we might even end up doing like a response to comments episode where if enough people return their feedback to us and tell us, they give us interesting things to speak about, we might do something where we take all of those comments and talk about them. I would love that. But that depends on audience feedback. And you can find out how to interact with us, how to contact us at the end of the episode.
Which we're at right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that's like a perfect segue into like, you know, basically us wrapping up. So basically, I just want to go ahead and reiterate our schedule. You said that we want to do another episode on the movie.
Yes, I would like to do another episode on the movie. We can do that after what we've currently got planned.
Yeah, sure, because we've already made that official. But
I will say, as much as I love this show, I've never seen the movie. So this is new ground for me.
Yeah, the movie's actually kind of like, it's not hard to find, but like it doesn't have an official American Blu-ray release, I don't think, which is like...
And I don't know if it's on any streaming platform.
It's not on any streaming services either. So like you have to get a Blu-ray imported to see it, or you have to go to piracy.
And you have to have a region-free player.
No, actually. The Region B Blu-ray that I bought it works on my PS4. So I believe it's Region AB. I don't think it's like region free, but I think it's AB. So like, and the interesting thing about it is that like it's got like logos for like British entertainment companies on the box, but when I put it into my player, I think it played the different logos for the American rights holders.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like I don't know if it just like plays different files or whatever. But
I at some point had, it was the only Blu-ray collection that I had of an anime. And at some point, either moving or I think it had something to do with me moving into Charleston. It collected heavy water damage because it was raining the day that I moved in at some point. Either that or my dad threw it away. I had the entire collection at some point. I no longer have that. I also no longer have a Blu-ray player because I haven't had the money to purchase one, and I don't have like a PlayStation 4 or anything.
Yeah.
But I'm going to at some point eventually. I don't know if the movie was included on that, though.
Probably not. If it was the Funimation one that I have, then no. And I don't know if they've done like a different Blu-ray release.
I think that's the only one that exists.
Okay. But anyway, like, so our schedule up front is we have Cowboy Bebop Part 2 coming out on February 2nd. Then we're doing Anohana on February 19th. and
Yes.
then Devilman Crybaby on March 2nd. And if the response to this episode is good enough, or if we just feel like it, we'll do an episode on the Cowboy Bebop movie and the subsequent Netflix show. We probably won't like do like a whole full-fledged review of that, but we'll do the movie and then we'll have like a discussion afterwards about like, the influence of the show and then like touch on the Netflix show.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically our schedule as it stands right now. So, just stick around in the future. And if you want to check any of our socials for updates or anything like that, for memes, for, whatever fucking idea I come up with at 2 a.m. at night, you can hit us up at How-to Otaku Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
You can also email us at howtootakupod@gmail.com.
Yep.
You can reach me personally at Brogan Live on Instagram. No way, not Instagram. I'm so sorry. Twitter. Just Twitter. I stream sometimes on Twitch.
Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, but my socials are I'm JD Thorn Film on Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, Facebook and Twitter. And then on Instagram, I am Thornography. And I think I might get into Twitch streaming soon because, like, I think I brought this up earlier, but like, I have the Ace Attorney games and I've been really enjoying those. So if you guys want to see me stream Ace Attorney, just let me know. But yeah, so.
Oh, also, before we forget, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of this podcast, please leave us a rating, leave us a comment. We would love to get some feedback from you guys.
The feedback really helps.
What parts of this show you enjoy, what parts of this show you don't enjoy. Also, like, the higher ratings we get and the more ratings we get, the better our spread is. So, like, if we have a 5-star review on iTunes. So if anybody would appreciate leaving a comment or a review on the podcast on iTunes or on Spotify or on whatever platform you listen to, we would very much appreciate that.
Yeah, Spotify recently added a rating system, so you can rate us on there. And I think Apple Podcasts is the only one that does reviews. But just rate us. Share us on social media if you'd like. Send out the good vibes.
Yeah, tell your friends about us. If you have some friends that like anime and like the anime that we've spoken about so far, by all means, let them know that we exist. Also, Anchor is probably the best way for you to leave a direct comment towards us. Or if you'd like to directly support us, we do have a Patreon, but you can donate to us on Anchor. If you want to contact the show in any way, shape, or form, the email, the Twitter, and the Anchor are the best ways to get to us.
All right. Well, that's it for today. Again, come back on February 2nd for our next episode on Bebop. And as always, and as appropriate for the show,
see you, Space Cowboys.
Doing a little dance for the outro.
Do a little dance. Make a little love. Get down tonight. Get down tonight.